The shooter at the White House correspondent dinner, that wasn't a false flag. I know that his name was searched up in Israel several times before it happened, but that doesn't matter. I know that there's pictures of him in an IDF sweatshirt, but obviously, like, there's no ties to Mossad, right? He just likes wearing the clothes.
Donald Trump posted up this picture of Cole Allen, a teacher from California who allegedly opened fire at the White House correspondent dinner last night. And the internet already talking about Cole was a black man. Nope, I'm gonna stop you right there. His name is Cole. We don't name our kids Cole. He got a white mama, probably named Debbie.
And I know that our greatest actress, politician, company owner / demon, Erica Kirk, was, putting her tear eye drops in and running away. But that doesn't matter. That doesn't mean this was fake.
This speech tonight will be classic Donald J. Trump. It'll be funny. It'll be entertaining. There will be some shots fired tonight in the room. So everyone should tune in. It's going to be really great. I'm looking forward to hearing it.
I want to just quickly tell you, I was sitting next to Caroline Levitt, the press secretary's husband. He was one of our guests. He was seated right next to me. And right as the dinner was starting, the national anthem happened. And then he kind of leaned over and said, I watched you on TV. You do a great job. You need to be very safe. And he was just very serious when he said that to me.
Sounds like we lost Aisha's phone there. And this happens, by the way, especially when you have so many people attempting to utilize the same cell service at the same time.
Right now, Trump has the lowest popularity rating in the history of the United States of America. So every time shit goes south for Trump and his administration, there's a fake assassination attempt. Okay, nice try.
Greetings, my BPPN family. Welcome to the Bold Perspectives Network. I'm Mr. Red. You may have heard already that at the White House Correspondents' Dinner, a man got off a few shots and had guns and knives, and they were able to apprehend this man. And you may even hear that this man is black, which he is not. He is not one of us. And as you saw earlier, you could tell why not. But the reason why I'm coming to you today, and the reason I showed you those clips, is because as I hear this, all I could think of is what happened in Butler, Pennsylvania. And what happened in Butler, Pennsylvania is when Donald Trump, his rallies weren't getting any support. They tried to make it seem like Trump was this unstoppable force that was heading on his way to winning a landslide election. Yet, when you looked at his rallies, no one was there. And you start to see that Kamala was building up these massive crowds. The writing was on the wall that Trump would not win this election or wasn't winning. And then you had this faked stage attempt. And if you remember correctly, all the news was starting to rally and feel sympathy for this man, if you want to call him that. And all of a sudden, miraculously, the polls started tightening. Things looked a little bit more crowded. The negative press that he was receiving was a little bit less. And as I see this, I am reminded of this very thing that has happened at the White House Correspondents' Dinner. Before this attempt at the White House Correspondents' Dinner, even if you want to call it an attempt, people started questioning more and more about actually what happened in Pennsylvania. And so I'm going to show you some of the doubts and the skepticism that people already had. And you're going to stick around to the end of the video because I have a video clip of a man who called it 11 days before it happened. We have much to discuss. Let's strap in. Let's get after it.
MAGA influencers are going bananas. They think now that the assassination attempt on Donald Trump's life in Butler, Pennsylvania was staged. I always kind of thought it was staged, and I know that makes me sound a little crazy, but it just something was fishy as hell about it.
And I know y'all saw what happened on this Charlie guy. People started running and screaming. They saw him get hit. They started running and screaming. They were screaming for their lives. They was running and screaming. Nobody ran when the orange man got somebody took shots at him. Nobody ran. Everybody stood there with cameras and smiles on their face and smirks and trying to see what's going on. But why is it that when this happened at a smaller situation, everybody starts to run? Everybody took off running when it was Charlie Kirk, but when it was FDT, nobody ran. Everybody stood there with cameras and watched what was happening unfold in real time, and nobody was afraid. That's even giving me more reason to believe that never really happened. So how do we know that this is not a distraction from what's actually happening in this world?
You know how I know it was staged? Because during an active, attempt, you do not stand him upright and pose for a photo op. You keep him on the ground and you escort out, blocking the body as a shield. You do not stand him up when they don't know how many possible attackers there are. There could be 2, there could be 10, they don't know. Why would you stand him up and subject him to possible more attacks?
Well, Trump quietly closed the investigation, which is an odd thing to do for something so substantial. Interestingly, footage has surfaced with angles revealing details previously unseen. Photographers being seemingly ushered into position, and even a crane lowering the American flag, which was perfectly timed for this iconic shot. One that's now hanging up in the White House. Back in November, the FBI closed the case and DHS prevented it from being reopened. Wired kicked off an investigation, which reveals Trump's own supporters now believe the Butler assassination attempt was staged. From former MAGA loyalists to QAnon leaders and even Joe Kent himself, many are now questioning the entire event. Last month, Joe Kent, former director of counterintelligence, went on an interview with Tucker Carlson and shared that his team was responsible for investigating foreign ties to the assassination, and apparently they were quickly told to stop.
How do we know that this is not a distraction from what's actually happening in this world? The job numbers came out. The unemployment is up. The GDP is bad. Everything is bad right now, especially in Florida where I live. And the files won't go away. And now because the files won't go away, all of a sudden this happens.
Based upon what you just saw, I'll let you come up with your own conclusions. I'm going to tell you what I think about this. What I think is things are going really bad right now. Trump is the most unpopular as he's ever been, but even more so, he is the most unpopular president ever at this time in the presidency. And so he's not making any attempts to do any of the things that he said he was going to do. Right now, the war is going really badly. And if you've been paying attention to the news, Iran isn't dealing with the United States in the ceasefire. They're not going to give Trump a win unless he concedes to what they want. And at some point, you have to ask yourself, can you blame the Iranians? Like, America doesn't keep any of its promises. If it won't even keep its promises to its own citizens, why would an Iranian believe that Trump and the United States are going to keep their promise on this? Trump already has a credibility problem with the 30,000 lies that he told only in his first administration. God knows how many he's told now.
I 100% guarantee that between now and the election, the Trump campaign is going to orchestrate a failed assassination attempt on his life. How do I know that? Well, because that playbook's as old as Methuselah. The guy's already said he was tortured in jail. He's already claimed that FBI agents were cleared to assassinate him when they showed up to Mar-a-Lago to get back the top secret documents he'd been holding on to. They're going to point the finger at President Joe Biden or some other radical left actor or organization. Would the people care to acknowledge it? This guy is a marketing and psychological genius. If I were in his position, that's exactly what I'd do. And if I thought of it, you think the fascist bootlickers who are sitting in, rooms all day trying to figure out how to get this guy back into the White House haven't figured it out?
But we know that this man and the people around him would do anything to hold on to power. And that's exactly what's happening. Whenever he finds himself against the corner, this man, like most dictators and authoritarians, will go to extremes in order to keep and hold power. Because they know once they lose power, they're going to be susceptible to being at the behest of the people that they screwed over. When you look at that attempt in Butler, Pennsylvania, I don't know how you believe this. I don't know how anybody believes this.
How did I know? Pretty easy, really. First, understand the nature of the man and all of his homies. But let's rewind to July 2024. Biden is still officially in the race. He did not drop out until the end of July. Biden is down on Trump in the polls, but improving. He's catching up, and Trump and his campaign know they need to do something to improve his poll numbers that have remained relatively flat. And contrary to popular belief, it was not just the disastrous debate with Trump that had Biden drop out of the race. It was actually a combination of the fallout from that debate and Trump's improved poll numbers following the incident in Butler, Pennsylvania. And absolutely nothing I've ever seen regarding the supposed attempt on Trump's life in Butler, Pennsylvania leads me to believe anything other than it was staged.
I had intended to show you a video clip of ballistics testing that shows that there's no way that if this had been a real bullet, that Trump could have survived it. Yet they tell you it's a bullet. This man is a liar, and this man's time is up. And the reason he ran for president again, because he didn't really want to run for president again, but it was the only way to keep himself out of jail. It was the only way. He was going to jail. And so now, when your butt is against the wall, when you're trying to protect your ass from getting taken, you're going to resort to a bunch of things. Even giving him the old Andy Dufresne. You know what I mean? Like, just go on and give it to him. And so if a man is that desperate, you don't think he'd be desperate enough to stage his own life attempt in order to save himself? You don't think that a narcissist would do that? Well, that's exactly who Trump is. When a person shows you who they are, believe them. Stay vigilant. Stay engaged. Stay revolutionary.